Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Tablet webinar. My name is Christopher Lamb. I'm the Rome correspondent for the Tablet, and I'm delighted this evening to be joined by Sister Natalie Becquart, who is going to be talking with me tonight about synodality. Since the Second Vatican Council, synodality has become increasingly important. And so I'm delighted we have Sister Natalie to talk us through what synodality actually means. Sister Natalie is a consultor to the Synod of Bishops Secretariat in Rome, appointed by Pope Francis. She's one of among the first women ever to be appointed to such a position. She was involved in the Synod of Bishops gathering on youth in Rome in 2018, and is currently based in Boston College, carrying out research into synodality. From 2008 to 2018, she ran the Office for the Evangelization of Young People and Vocations at the French Bishops' Conference. So it's great to have you, Sister Natalie. Welcome to this webinar. I want to start by asking you about Francis's vision for synodality. In 2015, the Pope gave a very important address where he set out his vision, and he said that synodality is what the Lord wants for the Church in the third millennium. Can you tell us a bit more about what the Pope's vision is and what he may have shared with you about it, but can you just unpack what you see, how you think the Pope sees this?
Okay, thank you so much, Christopher, and good evening, everybody. Greetings from Boston College. I'm truly delighted to be with you tonight to talk about, yes, this very important topic for the Church today, and not only for the Church, because the vision of Pope Francis is that synodality, it's missionary synodality for our world. When we think about Pope Francis' vision, I think we have to keep in mind two important things. First, for Pope Francis, the vision of the Church is that the Church has to be missionary. And maybe most of you have read Evangelii Gaudium, the Joy of the Gospel. That was this kind of programmatic vision in his first encyclical. So the Church has to be transformed to be all the more missionary in the world of today. And Pope Francis has also been elected to implement a reform of the Church. So synodality for him is at the key of at the heart of the reform of the Church. And we can say that for Pope Francis, it is the way to be the Church in our current world, in the world of today. And Pope Francis observed, like many of us, that our world is wounded, is fragmented, is divided, and the Church has to open a path to meet people where they are in this world. So what is synodality exactly? It's a broad concept. It's coming from the experience of the early Church. Maybe some of you already know that the etymology of synod and synodality, it's about journeying together. So synodality is about being a church together, lay people, pastors, religious, everybody walking together in a pilgrim church. So the walk, this idea of journeying together is very important for envisioning what is synodality, but it's a walk and a journeying together, listening to each other and listening to the Holy Spirit. So the main also thing for Pope Francis, and we have to remember that he has been shaped as a Jesuit, so discernment, listening to the Spirit is something very important for him. His way of governing the church nowadays is trying to discern the call of God. And so in the text you remind us, that is for me one of the key speech of Pope Francis in his pontificate. He really says that synodality is the call for the church today. So it's the vocation of the church in this world. And the main idea for Pope Francis is that, drawing from the ecclesiology of Vatican II, this idea that was truly emphasized at Vatican II, that our first vocation is to be baptized. We are all together in this church as a missionary disciple. And what we have in common is deeper than what we have, our differences. So Pope Francis, who is coming from Latin America, has it been shaped also in what we call a theology of the people of God. So this idea that the church, it's not only or not primarily, just the pastor, the bishops, or the hierarchical church. The church is this living reality of all the baptized. And so you can't speak about synodality without linking that to this idea of the people of God. We are all part of this people of God. And Pope Francis had the experience with what we call the CELAM, the Conference of Latin America, for the reception of the Vatican II Synod. They have organized regularly, big gathering of bishops like Medellin, Aparecida. And so for Pope Francis, taking from his experience in Latin America, the way for the church today to evangelize this world, to be in dialogue with this world, and to be truly a church of the gospel, a church of the mercy, the only way to do that is with lay people, is with everybody.
Well, thank you very much. That really does, I think, set out what is at the heart of the Pope's vision. And what's interesting to me is, some people will say that, oh, well, synods are really just meetings or assemblies, gatherings, maybe parliamentary, political style things. But what you're saying is it's actually a way of being the church more than those things that people might assume. So given that the church is in this crisis of a pandemic and having to think of new ways of adapting, given the lockdowns and restrictions, how should a local church put synodality into practice, do you think?
Yes, because as you remind us, when we talk about a Synod of Bishops or a diocesan synod that happen also in many dioceses, so it's a process of gathering with a preparation phase, then the gathering itself, then the idea that you have to organize the reception of the fruit of a synod. But what is at the heart of Pope Francis' vision? So before and at the beginning, we have to remind that the institution of the Synod of Bishops is a fruit of Vatican II. It has been created in 1965 by Paul VI. And the idea at the beginning was to have a kind of advisory board for the Pope and to have regular synods as events. But Pope Francis, just before the Synod on Young People in 2018, has published a new constitution for the Synod, Episcopalis Communio, that is an important text to refer to what is a Synod. And the shift with Pope Francis is we have to think about synodality and synod as a process, you know, not only an event, but a process. So there is the preparation state, is about listening, consulting to the people. Then the celebration of the synod is this communal discernment, and then you have to implement the fruit. And Pope Francis says it's not enough to have synods. What we have to do today is to be a synod in our everyday life. So there is no synodality for the universal church, you know, as the gathering of Synod of Bishops, if there is no synodality in local churches. So for us, as you say, and we are all part of a local church maybe, or well, we are living somewhere, synodality begins in our parish, and we have synodality requires two things: institutional structures. And in a parish, it's the parish council that is the main body for synodality. And the pastor is supposed to gather regularly this parish council where everybody can, all the members of the council can discern together. So synodality is mainly about the idea that you don't govern alone. The vision of the synodal church is a kind of framework to figure out how to get rid of a clerical church. So at the local level, you have this body of the parish council that should be the place for consultation, for discerning together. At the diocesan level, you have all kinds of council, the bishop council, the economical council, the council, the presbyterian council, and they should function with this spirit. Because the second main important things for synodality, it's not enough to have the good structures, you know. It's very important. It's also, synodality is a practice, in fact, and it requires some attitudes. It's also a kind of spirituality, and you can't implement synodality at a local level if people are not trained about what is discernment. Because synodality is about discerning the call of the Spirit for our parish, for our diocese, for our community. You know, we also experience synodality in religious communities when you have a general chapter, or in a lay movement, also when you have general assembly. All these kind of places where we gather are places for synodality if we implement this process of first thing, it's listening, and Pope Francis says that very strongly. A synodal church is a listening church. So synodality is about listening, dialogue, encounter, communal discernment, with the view, it's not mainly, you know, to have a better organization of the church ad intra, but it's for being this missionary church. So it's how in our parish we will answer the needs of today, and especially with this pandemic, you know, we have to decide new things, to find new ways to be church, and to do that in a synodal way is always usually better than someone alone decide alone.